Flight attendants of Reddit, what happens when you suspect people of having sex in the bathroom of the plane and how often does that happen? It doesn't happen much at all. Way too cramped. I think the original Mile High Club was meant to be exclusive because it's difficult to do. I wonder if the term was originally meant more for private jets. I fly for a really big international airline, so I had chance to see people from all over the world. Still, I can say it doesn't happen that much. What happens how I react depends on the flight, passengers and their previous attitude. Mostly, I just knock the door and mind my own business if they don't disturb others. The main problem is in case of emergency or sudden turbulence, lovebirds will almost certainly get hurt and there is no way I can explain to the company how I'll let it happen. Nobody wants to do it for that minor thing, but on paper, the passengers can be picked up by airport police and charged even. Edit. Typo. Pilot here. Once heard our senior cabin crew bang the door and shout in her thick Irish accent. If I'm not getting any, yous too sure as hell aren't. Get out and sit down. Full stop. Edit. My most liked comment is about customers doing the nasty in the loo. Great. Never tried. I never get this. On every flight I've been on, there's always lineups for the bathroom and flight attendants nearby. How do two people get in there unnoticed? I think the serious tag should have been attached to this. Yeah, poor oversight on my part, lol. The logistics of this seem mind-boggling. I can barely close the door while avoiding pee splatter and fluids on the side of the toilet. I guess I'm just too grossly uncoordinated to ever be in the Mile High Club. I just can't fathom how to fit all 6 of us in the bathroom. I caught 2 little people having sex in the photo booth at my bar. We had to lift them out by hand because they were so drunk. They were completely naked. Serious answer, not very often. How do we react? It depends. If they are first class passengers, you pretend you don't see. I once had a couple ask me if they both could use it together. Confused, I asked why. He gave me a wink and said it is on their bucket list. This couple was in their late 50s. I informed him, only one person is allowed inside at any given time, and if I see them enter together I would have to stop them. However, I will be leaving for 15 minutes now. They did the deed and thanked me. I'm all about helping people tick off their bucket lists. I barely have space to PSS or turn around in those tiny bathrooms, let alone get jiggy with it. Honestly, it sounds so uncomfortable. Not a flight attendant but a pilot. I've been flying for a few years and luckily haven't had anything of the sort. Closest I've personally had was a flight attendant get unwelcome touches from a drunk passenger. It's mildly satisfying having charges pressed and the customer service folks informing that passenger who had hundreds of thousands of miles and enormous status with the airline lose all of that and banned from flying with us on top of it all. Everyone forgets that cabin altitude of airliners is 6-8k feet and the light mild hypoxia means alcohol affects you significantly more than on the ground. The trick is not to sexually assault people even when you're drunk. It doesn't happen that often because the lavatories are gross and you should never touch anything or you will get chlamydia and die. Also, maybe it's just me, but since no one looks at the occupied sign, if whoever is in there remembers to lock it at all, instinctively tell people there's someone in there whenever they approach. So it's possible people have tried, and I unwittingly kill the mood. And then they have to stand in my galley in utter shame waiting for the bathroom that they don't even have to use as I munch, oblivious, on my salad until their partner comes out and the two have to have a conversation about the failed event using only their eyes. Mile High cock block. Okay, not completely related, but my sister was in the bathroom on a flight and the captain announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, we will be experiencing some slight turbulence." Suddenly the plane dropped, then shuddered and stabilized. IDK, what the hell kind of turbulence that was? All I know is I heard the most blood-curdling scream come from the bathroom. My sister comes out of the bathroom like she had just looked into the eyes of death. I suppose she thought we were crashing, lol. When she sat down, she informed me that she had just fallen off the toilet IA. So it's safe to say I will never attempt to join the Mile High Club. It's mental to me that in TV shows like Friends, the characters are willing and sometimes able to do it in all kinds of public places. Is it just because they don't last very long? Do they have no shame? I feel like it's one of those things that only happens in TV shows. But they pretend like it's a common and relatable issue. My wife and I had a whirl in the Kmart changing rooms years ago. We were in a competition for a trophy for the most public place. We lost. It happened to me, flying JFK to Madrid. After the meal, lights went down for movies and rest. I was very junior and kept walking the aisles for waters, napkins, etc. Saw this young lady go to the lav and 2 minutes later a guy went into same lav. I told a senior for asking what to do and he said, nothing. Let them have fun. After, she went back to the seat with the smile and he went back completely paranoid if someone saw him or not. Women are brave than us on things like this lol. When I served breakfast to them, I gave her a big smile. After that, I never said anything about it but do know, most of the time the crew is aware of it. Great memories from great days. Not a flight attendant. But after flying a few times plus watching that one episode of 1000 Ways to Die, I don't think it is worth the discomfort and apparently small chance of dying to join the Mile High Club. Not to mention the door is basically cardboard thin and with our luck my husband's ass would end up going through it and blowing our secret. Edit. Meant Mile High Club. But I guess if your partner is named Mike it still applies LMAO. I knew a person who had SX once. The only Mile High Club I'm a part of is the one in Modern Warfare 1. It wasn't SX but I actually had a flight attendant introduce me to a guy I dated for 3 years. We were flying out of a war area and I had an entire row to myself. It was a dry contract so the second we were wheels up from the last post everyone was ordering beer and or liquor. I was listening to music and felt someone watching me. So I turned to my left and see this super cute guy holding 6 beers. He told me the flight attendant only agreed to give him that many if he would come up to my row and share them with me. I looked back at the flight attendant and he was giving me a thumbs up. He sat down and then we dated for years. He actually sent me a photo of him and the same flight attendant a couple of years ago. Not SX but my GF at the time. Now my wife is an extremely nervous flyer. The slightest air turbulence and she will tense. We were on a flight from Dallas to Minneapolis and we had to land in a thunderstorm due to we were getting low on fuel. Our plane was bucking like a horse. People screaming and praying. My poor wife was nearly in hysterics so I rubbed that bean until she forgot all about our impending death. Improvise. Adapt and overcome people. Anyways the crew itself is the biggest duck club. The girl has to hitch up her skirt, knickers off, and jump up and wedge her bum on the edge of the sink. Then just like peeing in the Antarctic, the deed needs to be done quickly. I was 17 and my GF was 15. We were traveling across states and my girlfriend felt sick and ran to the bathroom. She was taking a while so I went to check on her but a guy was waiting to use the bathroom. I asked if I could check on her. I knocked and when she opened the door the guy started clapping like I won an award. When I told him she was sick he smiled like he didn't believe me. I went in, gave my GF some water, walked out with her. Guy was a pervert. It's not hard to sneak in there but I was not about that. Hey not Air Marshal John. Wanna go to the restroom and not rest? Join them. Before you join them you have to loudly stomp up to the scene. Look shocked with your hands on hips. Shake your head in disbelief. And then gradually begin to touch yourself while practically looming in the doorway. If you follow the above steps, you are rendered completely invisible to the offenders for 5 minutes or so or until you wordlessly join them. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I love when people try to do their own due diligence through Ask Reddits. Had one young couple from coach sneak in the first class bathroom. She left first. Then him a couple of minutes later. Trying to be discreet. Too bad they didn't think it through. She spit on the wall. I was the one to make them go clean up their mess. Didn't have to because we had to block off that bathroom because of their hazardous waste anyway. But just because. I joined the Mile High Club flying solo in the restroom. No trouble at all. I once had sex with Eartha Kitt in an airplane bathroom. United here. I knock on the door and ask if everything's okay. If they're smart. Only one person answers. I can't exactly barge in. But once I hear a second voice, I can open the door. This is where the fun begins. I then drag the two with their pants down to the front. They get to do the walk of shame. Then I open the emergency door and fling them out. They make a nice splash over the ocean. I usually quip at them something pithy I practiced the night before. Something like you should have used a serious tag. Actual flight attendant here. Honestly doesn't happen nearly as often as you'd think. The few times it's happened on my flights, we make sure to let them know that we know. The whole crew will know almost instantly who you are, including the pilots. Then we'll laugh at you and come up ways to try to make you as uncomfortable and awkward as possible while still being professional about it. It isn't very common. Mostly because the toilets are tiny and if you are in there for more than 10 minutes we have to check you haven't died on the toilet. However, a colleague told me he caught a couple having sex in the toilet and they got arrested when the plane landed. Sadly, what is more common is passengers carrying out sex act in their seats and trying to hide it under coats and stuff. This will also end in being arrested. The comments suck lol. Anyways, is it illegal if me and GF do this? Can we get like fined or arrested? I guess it depends how you guys do it. I once had a passenger sitting closer to the back galley but in full view. Anyone passing by would see him. He ended up getting arrested when we landed at our final destination. Not a Mile High Club experience, but some pretty flight attendants stood beside me for almost a minute and let out a huge fart then walked back. Nobody noticed because they were all asleep. So wait. I never thought about this. But people living in New Mexico, and especially Colorado, if we duck, are we already a part of the Mile High Club? This was a train, not a plane. But I'll speak anyway. We were delayed. Stopped in a station. Tons of people. Our delay. So the conductor walked through the whole train to bring the news and officially apologize for inconveniences. Me and a different family stood near the toilets that were locked for some 5-10 minutes. No biggie. And the conductor walked in. Asked what was happening. And simply knocked on the toilet. Apparently he heard something. Next thing he did was that he calmly brought up a key. Unlocked the place and threw out one less than happy and less than clothed couple out of the open door. Gave them approximately 10 seconds to throw something on and kicked them out of the train. Quite a spectacle.